Cześć, witam, dzień dobry, what's up? This is Mike. Today we're going to look at this unfortunate story that took place 2 weeks ago in the beautiful city of Toruń, here in Poland, where Nicholas Copernicus University student Klaudia K, at the end of her shift as she was walking home through a park, encountered this 19-year-old drunken Venezuelan illegal immigrant and was attacked in the most brutal way you can possibly imagine. And when I say brutal, it is one of the worst stories in terms of details that I've heard during my stay here in Poland.
2 weeks of unimaginable suffering. For over 14 days, 24-year-old Klaudia K fought for her life after being brutally attacked and raped in Toruń on the night of the 11th of June. She suffered extensive injuries to her head, neck and chest. The prosecutor's office announced her death last Friday. The perpetrator of the crime was a 19-year-old Venezuelan citizen residing illegally in Poland. Shortly after committing the crime, he was arrested by the police, and the court decided to remand him in custody for 3 months. The man was under the influence of alcohol. Today, in connection with this fact, the prosecutor ordered an autopsy of Klaudia K's body, which will take place on July the 2nd this year. After obtaining the results of the autopsy, that is, in particular, the causes of Klaudia K's death, the prosecutor will consider changing or supplementing the charges against Yomikert RS. This disgusting crime committed against a Polish woman shocked the residents of Toruń. Investigators secured the murder weapon. Officially, it was a knife. However, according to witnesses, before raping the victim, the migrant gouged out the woman's eyes with a screwdriver so that she could not recognize him.
So you heard this, right? This man, this young boy, took a screwdriver, and to prevent her from identifying him, he gouged her eyes out. That is one of the most inhumane things you can possibly think of. I mean, you have to be a complete savage. The mind, where this teenager's mind was, where he's just walking around with a screwdriver and think, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And to think in this moment, hey, to prevent her from identifying me, I'm going to just basically brutalize this young girl. I mean, this is one of the most savage stories.
He ran up to the woman, stabbed her twice in the eyes with the screwdriver, gouged out her eyes, and the screwdriver reached her brain. The motive for the foreigner's actions is not yet known. Among the hypotheses are sexual motives. The man arrived in Spain on a tourist visa in February this year. From there, taking advantage of the lack of border controls in the Schengen area, he travelled to his mother, who was legally working in Toruń. He himself was not employed anywhere. Let us recall that the perpetrator was staying in Poland illegally. His residence permit had expired, but no one was looking for him or checking on him because there is no service or administration in Poland responsible for immigrants, and there are no effective systems or procedures for controlling and removing those who are here illegally. Klaudia K was a graduate of English Studies at the Nicholas Copernicus University in Toruń. She had recently been working on her doctorate. She earned extra money as a bartender in one of Toruń's bars. Her life was brutally cut short by a man who had no right to be in Poland and whose past the Polish authorities knew nothing about.
So this is really crazy, and I don't know how many people like this have slipped under the radar, have flown under the radar in Poland, because every time I need to renew my visa, which is every 2.5 to 3 years, this is what I hear. I have people knocking on my door asking me a series of random questions. So I understand, because I'm registered, I'm here legally. So if you're just flying under the radar, slipping in on an inflatable raft, then I assume you probably don't have proper documentation. This for me is the kicker here, because his mom is working here legally on a visa. She knows good and damn well her son's not legal. And instead of maybe pushing him to go through the naturalization process, or at least apply for a visa, she allowed him to stay with her illegally. And this is basically when you start to have the snowball effect, in my opinion. These people some are not interested in staying here legally and following the laws. Now, maybe we can say this throughout the whole history of humanity. There are people out there that break laws.
These are the first consequences of this policy, and I fear that there may be simply more such cases. Because if we find adults in an orphanage in Skierniewice, it means that we already have these people in central Poland, in the Łódź province, which means that we have a situation of real danger to our children. Yesterday, I received information that several people are terrorizing the area around Rawa Mazowiecka, and such consequences will continue to occur. Unlike in many Western European countries, for years women in Poland could feel safe, even after dark. The tragic crime in Toruń may symbolize the end of this era.
Now, I think that could be a little bit of a stretch. I mean, this is one situation, but definitely as somebody who is a foreigner living here in Poland, I live very close to the immigration building, and I can tell you on a daily basis when I pass by, I see people from all walks of life. India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, China, Venezuela, Ukraine, geez, who else? Georgia, Uzbekistan. There are a lot of African countries, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Kenya. So right now, Poland is in full effect of being this multicultural society because they have this huge gig economy here. People act like countries in Europe are not capitalist. Of course they're capitalist, but they happen to have a socialist model interwoven with that capitalism. So Poland right now is undergoing a westernization, and I believe coming from somebody from California, I think Poland doesn't even know what's in its future because right now they have this booming gig economy, Uber Eats, Bolt. They have their own services that are primarily employing immigrants from other countries. So I don't know if that's just the natural order of things, but I think Polish people, if they're really serious about kind of nipping this in the bud, they might have to start looking themselves in the mirror and say, maybe we don't need people delivering our food that we order on an app on a bicycle. You know, maybe you need to get out of your house, take a walk a few blocks and pick up that food yourself. So I think Poland has become really westernized, and I think this younger generation has got rather lazy, not because it's their fault, because it's the conveniences that Western corporations and tech companies have created, where Poland, unfortunately, in my opinion, is starting to undergo this transformation where, in fact, eventually, I believe, unless there's some huge protest in the upcoming future, I think it's the Poland's fate is already sealed, in my opinion.
Ujście and the protests of Poles against accepting illegal immigrants from Germany into Poland. As residents, we cannot allow our children, our wives, or anyone in our families to be afraid to go out into the city center, whether it be during the day or at night. We cannot allow ourselves to be afraid in our own city. The police arrived on the scene, but not to ensure safety. We don't need to be guarded. Those in the forest need to be guarded. We were in the forest for 3 years. A moment later, the police used tear gas against the protesters. However, they did not allow themselves to be provoked. Our behavior was completely in line with accepted norms. We did not shout any rude slogans. There was no profanity. There were no acts of vandalism. This is scandalous behavior on the part of the police. We would like them to intervene as effectively and quickly when illegal immigrants cross our border.
So this, in my opinion, is where we get into the weeds when you're having this conversation, when you're trying to politicize this conversation, because what we can see is the left-leaning media here, I believe, has buried this story. I've spoken to a lot of my clients who are left-leaning. They knew nothing about this story. Maybe a couple knew about this story, but I would say the public media might have buried this story. And I think what they tend to do, you can see this group of men right here. These men right here, you heard him say, we're just here to try to protect our borders. These people that you see, these are considered to be the far-right conservative, maybe not necessarily radical just yet, but this is what left-leaning media will do. They will categorize these people as being far-right nationalists. And in fact, they're just trying to protect their borders. I think they're a little bit of an overreach, in my opinion, because this was just one situation where a girl was killed at the hands of a migrant, but you are starting to see this uptick in crime and behavior that is not necessarily conducive or typical for Polish culture, Polish society.
According to eyewitness accounts, it was the police who behaved provocatively towards the protesters from the very beginning. I left the event a little earlier. I only witnessed the police taking one of the organizers, the one who spoke the most, to a police car, where he was to be charged. This also shows that something is wrong here. Opposition politicians are warning that this is yet another case of the police carrying out political orders under Donald Tusk's government. The aim is to portray portray the participants of grassroots protests as dangerous militants. All these people who are going to the border today of their own free will to guard our border because they oppose mass immigration and the fact that Donald Tusk's government is accepting everyone from Germany, these people will be called racist today. They will be attacked by the mainstream media, by politicians from the civic coalition, and we must be aware that provocations may take place, provocations by the Internal Security Agency.
Exactly. This is exactly what my point was. The demonization of these people who are just more or less in fear. I mean, again, I think it's a little bit of an overreach where you start to protest immigrants, all immigrants. I don't think we've gotten to this point yet. And I would say I feel rather comfortable living here in Poland. As you can see, I don't have white skin. I get mistaken many times for somebody from Turkey, from Spain, somebody definitely from a country of brown origins. You have to understand how Poland is. Poland is rather a closed country. I think in the last 10 years, it's slowly opening itself up to this westernization. But if you live in a village in Poland, more time than not, you probably haven't seen a brown person in your entire life. But definitely you can see Polish people, their power, and not to say it's slipped away completely, but I think if they don't reverse course soon with the next upcoming parliamentary elections or a prime minister election, I don't know how long Donald Tusk will have in power. I think he'll be in power for a while, but in terms of the parliamentary elections, I believe that would be the most important decision Poland will have to make.
Provocations by the police, as was the case during the independence marches under the civic platform. Just like in the Netherlands, there too, Germans bring immigrants who are unwanted in their country, as recorded among others by city surveillance cameras in the border town of Venlo. And the Dutch, who like the Poles patrol their borders, are attacked in the mainstream media. The Dutch police are also acting against their own citizens. Border control is the exclusive responsibility of the Royal Military Police. Citizens cannot take on this role. It is likely that something is being tested in the Netherlands, namely how public opinion will react to it. I do not rule out that similar narratives and images will also be used in relation to the Polish border defense movement. The German media are also participating in this smear campaign. In mid-June, Die Welt attacked the border defense movement. Members of this grassroots organization were accused of organizing the smuggling of illegal immigrants from Poland to Germany. On the border with Poland, the federal police once again rejected several Somalis. The twist: earlier, officers on the Polish side noticed two men in reflective vests who were directing migrants towards Germany. According to the border defense movement, Germany may have transferred as many as several thousand illegal immigrants to Poland in recent months. However, Poles are increasingly documenting these situations. Lubieszyn, border crossing. If you want, go ahead, take a look. I can't do much because there are threats here too. Here the Gestapo and SS are dropping off engineers, so to say. This recording is from yesterday in Lubieszyn, and this one is from a few days ago in Zgorzelec. Here we can see how the Germans are dropping off migrants to the Poles. The whole team, and they are already being led to the other side. They are still crossing, blocking traffic, and they are leading everyone. Many of them have no documents. Those who declare themselves to be minors are sent to children's homes.
So this is really crazy, and this is what I don't understand what either country is doing. So for instance, let's say this is legitimate. Let's say on its face, this is legitimate. You have people that have come into the European Union countries, and you have this immigration pact that EU member states have signed on to or signed up for. And now these people, these migrants, are now being shipped over into Poland because Poland took a lot of Ukrainians in. So Poland's argument is we already have our quota of migrants, they being from Ukraine. I don't want to go as far as to say Polish people are xenophobic, but I can definitely see the xenophobia here might be a contributing factor. But my point is, if everything was on the up and up and you had legitimate laws in place, then it wouldn't look so covert. I think when you have police just kind of dropping people off on one side of the border, that doesn't look very official. It seems like you would have a marked bus through the European Union. You would have facilities already intact to be able to receive these migrants. So when you have the police department or the police from another country just dropping people off at the doorstep of your border, that doesn't seem legitimate at all. And if I were a Polish person, I would be concerned. So I don't know what the Polish government has done, why they would be okay with this.
Many of them have no documents. Those who declare themselves to be minors are sent to children's homes. This was the case, among others, in Izdebno near Garwolin, Police, Ciechanów, Pęchery, and Skierniewice. These boys are supposedly imposing their will, saying that girls dress immodestly and that they demand that they dress differently, according to their rules, according to their religion. What is this? This is imposing Sharia law. And where? In a children's home.
That is crazy. So these people are coming in as migrants, being not necessarily assimilated just yet, but coming in as migrants, being placed in a children's home, and then telling young kids that they're being a little too inappropriately dressed. That's crazy. Again, I don't know if this is an overreach. I don't know if this is fear-mongering, is my point. Because I just can't imagine you're a guest in the country, you're sitting in an orphanage or a child's home, and you're already talking about Sharia law and how you're dressed inappropriately because you're offended and your religion supersedes the native religion, that being Catholicism and Christianity.
Attacks on Polish people are becoming more and more frequent. This is a recording from Warsaw, where a foreigner delivering food brutally beat and kicked a Polish security guard for pointing out his bad parking. This is also Warsaw, and another attack by a foreigner. In Kościerzyna, a 27-year-old Colombian man who tried to steal a wallet from one of the city's residents was detained by citizens. He was handed over to the police.
And this is how you get far-right movements. This is how you get, unfortunately, a Hitler. This is how it begins. Bad leadership, bad policies result in crime, the escalation of death and murder, and then you wonder why people are outraged, and then it's easy to label them as being far-right radical extremism. You know, this is just really crazy right now. So these politicians, they never look in the mirror. They start to blame the people who are then victimized. So you blame the victim for being victimized because of their laws and policies, and then you wonder why you have a far-right movement. It stuff blows my mind.
In Toruń, Poles took to the streets after a brutal attack by an illegal immigrant, after which a young Polish woman is fighting for her life in the hospital. And here, a similar protest in Radom. This is probably a clear message for the government. And for all those who want to turn Poland into a third world country.
This is the most racist country I've seen in my lifetime, bro. Never come Poland. They are racist on the plane.
So you see this guy right here? I'm not saying I look like him, but our complexions are rather similar. Kind of brownish hue to the skin. People don't look at me and think America. And that's a problem I might be having in the future. I'm not going to demonize these people. But I think if this rhetoric continues, I too, as an American living in Poland, might find myself in some problems. And that would be probably my biggest concern at the moment, that this gets so out of hand that everybody that's brown or brownish and looks like they're from another country, even though I'm from the United States and we have this great relationship between Poland and the USA, people aren't going to look at me and think, hey, that's an American. They're going to think Middle East, Colombian, Venezuelan.
Everything. Some dusty country, bro. This is the most dustiest country you've come to in your life.
So this is a really tragic story. I would like to ask you Polish people out there, if I can pick your brains for a moment. If you're on the left-leaning side, if you're into KO Party, Platforma, Donald Tusk as a prime minister, how do you see this story? Is it about being just a one-off? And if this was perpetrated by just a regular Polish person, would this be such a big deal for you? Would this eventually be swept under the rug and we would just chalk it up to be somebody who had some mental problems and just leave it at that? And if you're on the right leaning, if you're for Karol Nawrocki, Peace, Law and Justice Party, Konfederacja, how do you see it? Is it about illegal immigration? Is it about immigration, or is it about immigration as a whole? So I'm just trying to get a conversation started between the two ideologies. left-leaning liberal parties here in Poland versus conservative, more stringent policies or a little bit more common sense policies. Again, trying to get a dialogue started. How do you see it, Polish people? So that's it. This is Mike. Again, trying to get a conversation started here in Poland. Let me know. Once again, leave a comment in the comment section below. See you on the next one. Cześć.